Welcome to the Jessie Freeze Show on WMTR 1250 AM, a Beasley Media Group station. Brought to you by www.insidernj.com. Online news for political insiders in New Jersey. Streaming live on WMTRAM.com and TalkStreamLive.com.
I'm Jessie Freeze. Welcome. The month of May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So many people are in desperate need of help. Add to this the out-of-control gun violence, 346 deaths and 737 injuries by guns in the past week alone. The loneliness and isolation due to the pandemic, the hurtful, disastrous cyberbullying, and the brutal bullying of school children, the humiliation and heartbreak that led to their suicide. Suicide is a second leading cause of death for young people today. And joining me on mental health, bullying, and guns, Max Pizzaro, editor-in-chief and co-founder of Insider NJ, who wrote a series of heart-wrenching accounts of bullying that led to suicide. Welcome, Max Pizzaro.
How do you do, Jessie?
Senator Shirley Turner, serving her seventh term in the Senate from the District 18, a tireless worker for New Jersey. She is sponsor of the Anti-Bullying Rights Act, S3715, which amends the definition of harassment, intimidation, and bullying. And thank you so much for joining us today, Senator Shirley Turner.
Thank you for allowing me to.
And also joining us, Senator Patrick Diekman, who along with Senator Joseph Panaccio are authors of the important bullying bill, Mallory's Law. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Jessie, nothing more important. Thanks for doing this.
You're very welcome. Also with us, Diane Grossman of Rockaway on the senseless, tragic death of her precious 12-year-old Mallory, who took her life after being the victim of brutal bullying. And she'll be sharing her tragic loss of her precious daughter with us. Also, Paula Fetterman, who had to homeschool her daughter, Davida, after non-stop harassment from students at her New Jersey school. And last but not least, parent activist Brianna Kendra from Toms River, New Jersey, parents fighting for victims of bullying. Thank you for joining us, Brianna Kendra. And my show today, as we said, is on bullying, suicide, gun violence, and mental health. And all those issues seem to be somewhat interconnected. Due recently to the senseless death of 14-year-old Adriana Kutch, a victim of brutal torture by 4 of her classmates in the hallway of her school. And in 2017, 12-year-old Mallory Grossman was bullied on school grounds and harassed via Snapchat and the text messages relentlessly before she took her own life on June 14th, 2017. And we have with us today her mother, Diane Grossman of Rockaway, sharing her heartbreaking, emotional story with us. Diane Grossman, our hearts go out to you. I can't imagine what you have been through. Will you tell us Mallory's story?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And I am humbled to be with this incredible panel of speakers. So again, thank you all. Special thanks again to Senator Diekman and Senator Panaccio for helping us work to make changes to the anti-bullying statute. So Mallory's story is like pretty much, unfortunately, every student that we hear in New Jersey and honestly across the country. It's reported that 1 in 4 children report being bullied at school or online. And I use the word reported because I think a lot of situations don't go reported, right? Parents are afraid to do so. Mallory was a healthy, happy, loving child. She was a cheerleader. She was a gymnast. Her father and I have been married for 20 plus years. We're small business owners. From the outside looking in, we look like the perfect all-American family. And in so many ways, we really are. We are what New Jersey strives to be. And it happened so soft and subtle. And I think that that's one of the reasons why we chose to speak out, is because I think when people think of bullying, they think of it like this big, giant act of something happening, like the big kid pushing the little kid into the locker and taking the lunch money. And that's not what today's
Right.
bullying is. Today's bullying is very passive. It's cruel, it's mean, and children have raised the bar on hate. You know, we don't talk like Leave It to Beaver anymore. We don't say go jump in the lake or leave me alone. Our children today talk like go kill yourself. And I think what's one of the most difficult things is Mallory's bullying is referred to as relational bullying. And in my opinion, it's the most dangerous form of bullying because it's confusing for teachers, it's confusing for administrators, it's confusing for the victim. And this type of bullying empowers the bully. And so what happens is the bully learns very early on that very little will happen to eye rolling, whispering, pulling her hair when no one's looking, making fun of her, telling her that she's fat, telling her that she's ugly, telling her she can't sit at lunch. So, you know, in my opinion, as a mom, this is like domestic violence at school, right? So a woman that is experiencing domestic violence, right, in many ways, she might have options, she might have support, but children at school, they really don't. And we think that the administration and the school teachers are plugged in, and many times, in my opinion, they're not, because they've got so many other, as you mentioned, issues that they're worrying about. Gun violence drills, IEPs and 504s, like their plates are very full. And so when you bring in things like teasing and name calling or don't have a seat at lunch, I think one of the biggest issues is a lot of those complaints get kind of pushed to the bottom of the list because of the other things that we talked about.
Did Mallory tell you and your husband what it was like for her in bullying, and what
it was?
How did she
it was
endure
an
it?
everyday occurrence. Yeah, Mallory would come home from school and she didn't eat her lunch. She didn't have a seat at lunch. You know, she quit gymnastics. All of these things. And as parents, you never think. See, in 2017, we weren't having this hard conversation. We weren't talking about mental health. We weren't talking about the conversations. And so when Mallory would come home and tell us these things, of course, we would report them to the school, and we certainly would elevate the concerns. But we also thought, like every other mother, well, maybe it's puberty.
But did anyone confront the bullies or their parents? Did any of the teachers or administrators help?
Well, I think, again, yes. So it was reported regularly to the administration, which is why we have such a strong lawsuit against the school system. It was reported. As far as what happened between the girls and the parents, that's not information that we're really privileged to because of, you know, FERPA laws and what have you. I can say from my side of it, no. I didn't feel that there was any true action taken from the administration or the teachers, because I feel strongly, had there been some level of action taken, then I feel like that my daughter would still be here today.
Should there be more federal funding for children who are bullied and more backing from schools, churches, and community at large? Somebody has to listen. Somebody has to stand up and take charge. This is just so hard for you. And I don't know how you're facing it. I don't know how you're going through it. But you have...
Well, I think we certainly need more training. I think we need more training, but I don't think that necessarily the solution is to throw money at a problem, because we haven't truly sat down at the round table and with the lawmakers that are on this call. I'm a phone call away. Sit down with me, talk to me, and I will certainly walk you through some of the gaps that I think are missing. I think in New Jersey, we do spend an awful lot of money on students, and I think that what could really change is investing in training, but we need to be investing in training who truly have interactions with our students. While yes, the teachers are important, but we forget the teacher's aide. We forget the librarians. We forget the nurses. Like, those are the people that are also on the front line. So I think that there's a lot more that can be done. As far as federal funds, I think that we're going to have to classify. We're going to have to deal with the social media access that children have, and the also social media that schools since COVID have infused into their education curriculum.
Absolutely.
When the teachers are using apps, thank you. When the teachers are using apps, you cannot turn around and tell your student, like, or your child, don't use these apps. So I think that we need to tackle all of these, but they need to happen at different conference tables.
What was your happiest memory of Mallory? She seems like such a precious, adorable daughter.
My favorite is Mallory's birthday. Mallory was born April 22nd, 2005, and she was born on Earth Day. And from the day that she was born, she loved the planet Earth. She would make jokes about if she came back to life, and she'd like to be a butterfly or she'd like to be an animal. And one time she said to me, I never want to be styrofoam because styrofoam it ends up in the landfill. She was such an earthy child. And I think she was always so funny that way. So my favorite memories are spending time at our camper in upstate New York and just being the all-American family, right? Like just the all-American, riding bicycles, living life outside. Those are still my happiest memories, and celebrating planet Earth and celebrating Earth Day. Mallory's birthday is always kind of bittersweet for us.
Oh, that's beautiful. And keep those beautiful memories because they certainly warm your heart. And just this week, another 10-year-old was so bullied, she committed suicide. We keep reading this over and over again. And suspected suicide attempts increased by 50% during February and March of this year, and bullying was the culprit. According to the CDC, children with mental health disorders has increased 24% for 5 to 11-year-olds. So the school has to step in. Everyone has to step up and everyone has to help. And Diane Grossman, just keep up your hard, beautiful work, you and your husband. I understand you started something called Mallory's Army.
Yes, ma'am. So it's our 501c3 charitable organization. We have a documentary out called Mallory, and it's really we refer to it as an ABC after school special. I don't know if you remember those, but I remember as a kid coming home, and it's a short 90-minute film that talks a lot about our story, but it's a great key for parents to have conversations with their kids. It's a great talking point. And so that's why we did it. And our foundation also travels to different communities, different events to share Mallory's story and introduce kids to living what we call living a bracelet kind of life. And it's really just about putting on our little blue band to remind people to be the good in the world and to be the upstander.
You're certainly a beacon of hope for so many others facing this. And thank you for all you're doing. And God bless you. Thank you for sharing your story with us today. And Senator Deegan, you and Senator Panaccio's bill, Mallory's Law, addresses bullying on school property and the internet. Could you tell us about this and what it has accomplished for you?
Well, you know what? First of all, Diane, I cannot put into words how much I appreciate your courage, your advocacy. It's incomprehensible to me how you've been able to be so positive. So God bless you. Obviously, I mean, basically the bill, in all fairness, Senator Panacci was the, I'm the co-sponsor, but he's the one that really was on the front. It's a shame he couldn't be on the call today. He's the one who was really on the front lines, dealt with the family, came up with, putting into law suggestions that were made. But what was just talked about, and I wish we could come up with an answer, social media at this particular point. We're all on our phones right now. It's becoming a weapon, and we just have to get a handle on it. I was saying to my staff the other day, if you watch kids getting out of school now, walking home, they're all on their phones. They aren't even interacting with each other. I just read an article that in classes, when the teachers ask kids to take different opinions on particular issues, anymore they're reluctant to do it because if it's not, they don't want to be bullied or whatever on social media. We just have to get a handle on how to control this what is really becoming a weapon in my mind at this particular point. The law is in place again to a large extent because of Senator Panaccio, where the administration is going to have clear guidelines as to what to do, but to stop the ability to do it is something. I wish I had an answer, but it's absolutely heartbreaking. One of the towns I represent is Metuchen. A 7-year-old girl in Metuchen within the last month committed suicide.
Right. We're hearing it over and over again.
Yeah. My grandkids knew her, wonderful little girl. I went to, I was talking at a class in Edison the other day about something totally different, STEM. But when I was there, I asked the kids, is there bullying going on in school? And they all said yes. And the one little girl told me a story which broke my heart. her best friend's brother, is a little heavy. He goes to school. All the boys make fun of him. He goes along with it. Oh, yeah, blah, 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 blah. And then goes home at night, sits in his room and cries all night. I mean, it's, and again, with the social media, now with TikTok, they can put your face on anything. It's, as they say, I'm all ears. We just have to get a handle on this thing.
That's right.
It's absolutely heartbreaking.
Right. Cyber harassment has become another weapon so used by bullies to destroy those innocent victims who they relentlessly target. Oh, it's awful.
And it's 24/7. I mean, back when I was in school, if you were interacting with another kid, you went home that night. And if it was the weekend, you didn't see him for 3 days. Or now it's nonstop. You don't get away from them. They go, they go on TikTok or whatever else they have access to and make fun of you. And it's awful. It's just awful.
And what else does your legislation do? Have you feeling it's made an impact, but the bullying still continues? How can we put an end to this? Who can step forward and really come down hard? Maryland has a new rule called Gracie's Law, where they're going to fine them if the child that they've tortured kills themselves. They're going to fine the people $10,000 and 10 years in prison.
Yeah, well, really, basically, this particular bill holds the parent and guardian responsible if they're aware of bullying and haven't dealt with it. So it's the same basic premise as Mallory's law, except that, the penalties are not as strict as the one you were just talking about. But really, hey, everybody has to be part of this solution. I mean, the parent of a bullier should be held responsible for doing the right thing. And if you talk to teachers, my daughter's a teacher. She deals with it every day. They want to be part of the solution. It breaks their heart, too, when they see a little girl sitting at lunch all alone while everybody else is over at another table. I mean, they see it every day, and it breaks their heart. So this is something that teachers want to deal with, administrators want to deal with, staff. I was yesterday before the Middlesex County Education Association, and everyone there, the teachers and staff, are all saying the same thing. We have got to stop this bullying. So it isn't anybody is looking to avoid doing the right thing. It's just that we got to, one thing, a bill that Senator Cody and I are on right now is really basically to create a committee comprised of kids. So they could say what they think is the appropriate, rather than guessing what kids think is the right thing to do, ask the kids what they think is the right thing to do.
That's right.
Senator, I love that. It's called reverse mentoring. I love that.
Yeah. I always say the last person we ask is the first person we should ask.
Right.
Again, when I was at Edison, the same young woman was saying, maybe we should have, she used the example of a confessional box, but whatever you want to call it, an anonymous place that kids could go into and without giving their name because they don't want to be targeted and say, so-and-so is bullying somebody else in third grade English class, is there something we can do about it? So at least the administration's aware of it. I don't know.
Senator Deegan, can you stay with us a few more minutes? I want to just go on with this. We have to go on a quick break. And our guests today are making valuable contributions on bullying, gun violence, and mental health. Max Pizzaro, Senator Patrick Deegan, and of course, he's with Senator Joseph Panaccio. Diane Grossman sharing Mallory's story, and Paula Fetterman, who had to homeschool her daughter, Davida, when she was harassed at school. And Senator Turner is next with us. I'm Jessie Fries. We'll be right back with this excellent group of people. We'll be right back.
John Graham, founder and CEO of Fairview Insurance Agency Associates, has been providing excellent service for the people of New Jersey since 1970. Fairview Insurance is a premier family-owned and operated independent full-service insurance agency based in Verona and Cherry Hill, New Jersey, working on behalf of individuals, companies, and public entities providing customized insurance plans, employee benefits, investment, and financial planning services. Fairview holds more than 30 licenses to service clients' needs in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and New York, as well as nationally through specialty insurance programs for hard-to-place risks. Fairview Insurance Agency's knowledge of the industry, cohesiveness, and deep commitment to values have inspired confidence among their many thousands of clients. Fairview Insurance Agency Associates, Verona, New Jersey will win your trust.
For the latest up-to-date news, visit www.insidernj.com. Online news for political insiders in New Jersey, featuring politicians, attorneys, medical, celebrities, and people and issues in the news.
Fairview Insurance Agency, 25 Fairview Avenue in Verona. Find them online at fairviewinsurance.com.
Welcome back to the Jessie Freeze Show, brought to you by www.insidernj.com. Online news for political insiders in New Jersey.
Welcome back. Joining me this morning on guns, bullying, Diane Grossman of Rockaway Township, Valerie's mother, Max Pizzaro, Senator Patrick Deegan, Senator Shirley Turner. And we were talking with you, Senator Deegan, and I know that you have to leave soon, but just give us a wrap up of Mallory's Law.
Well, basically, it clarifies, again, what the crime of cyber harassment is, also the requirements of the school in reporting it, which of course is very, very important, and also requires that schools must adopt a policy concerning harassment, bullying, and cyber and all the rest. And as we were talking about, and what the processes for prompt investigation. But what we were talking about, I think in a lot of cases, the kids are afraid, for lack of a better word, to report it. And that, I mean, the two prongs in my mind that we really got to get a handle on is number one, the cyber harassment, and number two, making a mechanism that the kids can, and not only necessarily the child that's the victim of bullying, but a child that sees bullying going on and wants to report it, but on the other hand doesn't want to be targeted. And that's what we really got to get a handle on. And again, I'm totally open to suggestions, but that's really what we got to get a handle on.
Well, thank you very much for your contribution to this. It's been a pleasure talking to you today, and keep up the good work.
And Diane, I know you said you wanted to sit and talk anytime. Maybe you, Joe, me, Shirley, maybe we could have a cup of coffee.
I'm all for it. You just say
Okay.
it when, and we'll do it.
One thing that we found out talking to administrators, that in many cases, the bullier is having some psychological problems.
I say it all the time. Hurt people hurt.
So
Yeah.
as you said, it's not necessarily the punishment that's going to stop it. It's the prevention.
I also
keep me-
want to reiterate that we should really start in kindergarten. The teachers should start teaching children that it's wrong to be cruel to others, to gossip, to do anything like that. We have to start someplace, and it really should start at the beginning of school. And I thank you very much for being on.
Well, thank you. Keep up the good work.
Bye. Thank you. Senator Turner, tell us about your Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights Act. It encompasses acts of harassment, intimidation, or bullying against all students, not just students in protective classes. And you've done a monumental lot of work toward this subject.
Well, we know from what we've heard today, but also what we read in the newspapers, that bullying has become an epidemic, not just here in New Jersey, but across the country. And it's rampant. It's not just teenagers. It's not just elementary school. It's throughout the K through 12 and even college. I remember when New Jersey passed the Bullying Bill of Rights Act. That was back in 2011. And that was because of Tyler Clemente, who was a college student.
Right.
And it's still going on. And I think because of what's happened with the pandemic, we see that more students now have deeper lying problems, and they're acting out. And many times they take it out on other people, not just physically, but socially, as well as through social media with cyberbullying. Now, I introduced my bill to amend the definition of harassment, intimidation, or social bullying, because we should not just protect those students who are in a protected class because of their race, their religion, their color, their sexual orientation, or their gender. Every student should be protected, regardless of being in a protected class. We should be protecting all of our students. All of our children deserve to be protected.
Absolutely.
When they're going to school and when they're involved in any school activity. And bullying occurs everywhere in the schools, in the hallways, in the classrooms, in the gymnasiums, in the locker rooms, the cafeteria, the bathrooms, during recess, on the playgrounds. And it's all well and good that we have these anti-bullying policies. but the policies aren't worth the paper they're written on or this Bill of Rights if it's not enforced. And it is not
Thank you.
enforced. And we as legislators need to ensure that these policies that we pass into law are being enforced. And it has to be enforced by all of the personnel in our schools, not just the teachers, but the aides as well as even the janitors, and if they have resource officers in the schools. Everybody should be accountable to ensuring that students are not being bullied, because we know that if the students are being bullied, I know from being a former teacher, the kids being bullied are the ones who don't want to go to school. And if they don't want to go to school, then they're not going to be able to learn in the classroom with fear of being bullied.
You're so right. You're so right. We just hold what you're saying because I've got to go on a quick break. And when we get back, we'll talk to Senator Shirley Turner on bullying in the schools. I'm Jessie Fries.
John Graham, founder and CEO of Fairview Insurance Agency Associates, has been providing excellent service for the people of New Jersey since 1970. Fairview Insurance is a premier family-owned and operated independent full-service insurance agency based in Verona and Cherry Hill, New Jersey, working on behalf of individuals, companies, and public entities providing customized insurance plans, employee benefits, investment, and financial planning services. Fairview holds more than 30 licenses to service clients' needs in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and New York, as well as nationally through specialty insurance programs for hard-to-place risks. Fairview Insurance Agency's knowledge of the industry, cohesiveness, and deep commitment to values have inspired confidence among their many thousands of clients. Fairview Insurance Agency Associates, Verona, New Jersey will win your trust.
For the latest up-to-date news, visit www.insidernj.com. Online news for political insiders in New Jersey, featuring politicians, attorneys, medical, celebrities, and people and issues in the news.
Fairview Insurance Agency, 25 Fairview Avenue in Verona. Find them online at fairviewinsurance.com.
Welcome back to the Jessie Fries Show, brought to you by www.insidernj.com. Online news for political insiders in New Jersey.
Welcome back. Our guests today, Max Pizzaro, Senator Patrick Deegan, Senator Shirley Turner, Diane Grossman, Mallory's mother, and Paula Fetterman. And we're talking with Shirley about bullying in the schools, and we want to hear more about your Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights Act. Is it encompassing all that you hope it to be? And do we need more laws that if a child has to go to administration more than once and nothing happens, the administration should step forth and take hold of the whole situation?
Yes, and this is particularly true for Adriana, who was the 14-year-old who committed suicide because she was bullied and beaten in the hallways of the high school. And not only while she was being kicked and beaten by 4 girls, they videoed it using their cell phones and then put it on the internet on TikTok. And that's what led to her to committing suicide. And we need to make sure that any time a child is physically attacked, it should be reported to law enforcement so that something can be done about it and not sweep it under the rug. And I think that schools sometimes feel that they don't want that to be known, so they don't really follow up and do what is necessary to protect the child or the children. And we know that words, many times verbally you can bully somebody by calling them names and demeaning them, making them feel less than human. And many times these students who are young and they want to be accepted, they want to belong. And many times, I know when I was growing up, my mother and father always told us, sticks and stones will break your bones, but names
right.
never hurt you. But words do hurt these days because not only do you hear it once, they can put it on the internet. And as was said earlier, with cyberbullying, It's 24/7. It's not one time in school and then you go home. Cyberbullying, they follow you home because they have electronic means of doing that by the cell phone, the texting, the social media, in the chat rooms, the websites, the Facebooks, Snapchats, the Instagrams, the Twitters, and TikTok. These kids are being bombarded 24/7, and it's a wonder that the kids are able to withstand all of that because this is a different world we're living in now, and we need to do all that we can to help these young people because they can't go to school every day and concentrate and focus on what is being taught if they're in fear of being bullied. Not just
Absolutely right.
from the school, but even when they go home, they're fearful of going home, leaving the school building because there's somebody there to jump them, like poor Adriana.
Oh, yes.
Everybody in the school, as well as parents. I know it was said that teachers and the school district with their employees need to be held accountable. But parents have to be held accountable too, because that's where learning begins first, is in the home. And the kids who are being raised by their parents, the parents have to take responsibility to make sure their kids who have all of these electronic devices are not using them to hurt other people. And they need to supervise the sites that they're visiting on the internet and what they're doing when they're home, because many of them are not doing their homework. They're doing other things on the internet that is not healthy mentally for them or emotionally.
And you're so right about cyberbullying because it can take on so many forms, including, as you said, personal attacks, harassment, discriminatory behavior, spreading defamatory information, misrepresenting oneself online, and spreading private information and social exclusion and cyber stalking, because there's so many malicious lies being told about these children that it really drives them to take their lives.
That's sad, very sad. And I'm willing to work with anybody and everybody if we can do something to turn this around, because we can't keep losing our young people for senseless reasons such as bullying and intimidation.
Yes, cyberbullying is out of line, really. We've got to stop that cyberbullying because that is causing so many hurtful feelings and feelings of desperation by the child that is being victimized.
Yes, I heard our Surgeon General who said that he did not believe that kids should be allowed to have these accounts, these apps.
Ladies, there's actual, excuse me for interrupting, but there's actual data in New Jersey from school systems and principals, particularly in lower income areas where they were seeing test scores fall, socialization fall, and several principals stepped in and decided to remove technology, particularly cell phones, because they're not cell phones, they are miniature computers, and they banned them from the school. And we saw test scores go up, we saw interactions, we saw better mental health. I think that, it's one of those situations that inside the building, the school system is going to have to be prepared to piss off 10% of the population in order for 100% of us to be successful. I think that teachers need to refrain from abusing and using so much technology in classes. I think teachers and teachers' aides and sports programs are guilty of using social media to interact with the kids. The practice time changes. I mean, we are building really unhealthy habits, and we're passing these habits down to our children younger and younger and younger.
We've got to go on another quick break,
Right.
so save that thought, and we'll be right back with Max Pizzaro, Senator Patrick Deegan, Senator Shirley Turner, Diane Grossman, Paula Fetterman. We'll be right back. I'm Jessie Fries.
John Graham, founder and CEO of Fairview Insurance Agency Associates, has been providing excellent service for the people of New Jersey since 1970. Fairview Insurance is a premier family-owned and operated independent full-service insurance agency based in Verona and Cherry Hill, New Jersey, working on behalf of individuals, companies, and public entities providing customized insurance plans, employee benefits, investment, and financial planning services. Fairview holds more than 30 licenses to service clients' needs in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and New York, as well as nationally through specialty insurance programs for hard-to-place risks. Fairview Insurance Agency's knowledge of the industry, cohesiveness, and deep commitment to values have inspired confidence among their many thousands of clients. Fairview Insurance Agency Associates, Verona, New Jersey will win your trust.
For the latest up-to-date news, visit www.insidernj.com. Online news for political insiders in New Jersey, featuring politicians, attorneys, medical, celebrities, and people and issues in the news.
Fairview Insurance Agency, 25 Fairview Avenue in Verona. Find them online at fairviewinsurance.com.
Welcome back to the Jessie Free Show, brought to you by www.insidernj.com. Online news for political insiders in New Jersey.
We're back talking bullying, mental health, and gun violence with Max Fazzaro, Senator Patrick Deegan, Senator Shirley Turner, Diane Grossman, Mallory's mother, Paula Fetterman. Bullied, suicidal kids are calling out for help. Why aren't schools listening? One parent talked to parents of the bully and wrote emails to the school officials, even suggested the schools start a trauma club as a safe space for bullied students. No one was listening, and her daughter couldn't take it anymore and committed suicide. And as you said, Max Fazzaro, in your articles, every generation has dealt with bullying, but today's bullying seems to be the worst. And as you say, the students are in crisis.
Absolutely.
I think it's true, Jessie. I think it's true. And I just feel gratified to be a part of this conversation with these key players. I do think that someone raised the issue about TikTok and whether it should be banned. And I know that this is an ongoing discussion.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there is a debate at the federal level. Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri and Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky recently got into a debate. It's a fascinating discussion. I'd love to get the opinions of the people on this call, but essentially it boils down to this. And we have a congressman, Josh Gottheimer, who wants to ban TikTok, or at least ban the Chinese control of TikTok. And that's Josh Hawley of Missouri saying we need to get rid of this digital fentanyl, is what he called it. And Rand Paul of Kentucky said, no, this is a free speech matter. And you can't ban TikTok. We have to find other ways of controlling it. And when I listen to Senator Turner and the work that she's done, she's legislating without the benefit of being able to ban TikTok, at least to date. And do you think we need to go there, Ms. Grossman and Senator Turner? Are we at that juncture where we need to examine, as a matter of security for our children, the banning of TikTok?
Well, I think it's also a matter of security, not just for our children, but for this country, because we know that it's the Chinese who is responsible for TikTok, and we're not able to regulate it. But I don't know if we could ever do that, because you do, as you indicated, some people feel that it's free enterprise,
Mm-hmm.
that we
Right.
can do it. But
yes, but here's the problem with, and I wanted to leave the TikTok conversation, because I think that does become political, because then it becomes, Chinese based and what have you. And all they're going to do is, if we ban TikTok, they'll just come out with another app. There are several things that we can do. First of all, there is no child that I know that can check the terms and conditions box and enter into a legal binding contract that allows an app company to own their content. So that needs to change immediately. Children check boxes, they enter the terms and conditions, and their data, their content, their information, their personal is now owned. And we see this as business owners, even with the company Yelp. You get a bad review on Yelp and it's never coming down. So I think what has to happen is, first of all, no child should be able to enter the terms and conditions. So we need to change the age of where children are allowed to have access to it. And I think starting at the age of around 16 is a good kicking off point, right? If they can take their driver's test, then they certainly could be. And that would solve a lot of problems, and that would take the responsibility, and the federal government could do that right away, or at least at the state level, right? We could start saying. So banning TikTok isn't going to be a solution, because TikTok used to be called Musical.ly, and they changed the name to TikTok. So all they're going to do is come out, and then what will happen is, well, they're banning TikTok, but they're not banning Snapchat. And my daughter was bullied on Snapchat, and Snapchat has areas of where it's called for my eyes only. So first thing is children should not be agreeing to their content and information. And I think that that's the first thing that could start happening and could be done as far as it, because I do not believe that I want to live in a country where certain platforms are banned because of their indirect connection to a foreign country. I think that free speech, and I do lean a little bit to that part of it, but I think that we certainly could change the age limit. Instagram, who's owned by Facebook, you can download and start an Instagram account at the age of 13. I can't buy a pack of cigarettes, but I can literally allow all of my content and information. And by the way, these apps are the platforms of where, and we know this for factual information, that predators are online. I tell all of my parents, the real white van is the one in your child's hand. You calling the police and saying that there's a van in your neighborhood that looks suspicious, that's more than likely a painter who's just looking for your house. The real white van, the real one that we should be concerned about, is the online predators. That's a whole other conversation that we could be having. And it certainly is. And then, of course, getting into snap rooms and chat rooms where kids can learn about self-harm. They can learn about anorexia and eating disorders. They can learn and to become members of, right, and they can become members of hate groups, right, neo-Nazi, all of these things. At some point, we have to protect our children from themselves.
You are absolutely right. And to change the subject,
it's our job to say to them they're not allowed. Yes.
Yeah, and I wanted to get your take, all of you, on are the constant school shootings, including the 6 who were just killed in Nashville, contributing to the mental health problems? Are Nashville, Tennessee's lax gun rules making guns and violence more prevalent for the children? Who wants to take that?
I think
I would just say in brief that, oh, I'm sorry, Senator, please go ahead.
I was just going to say, yes, all of the above. I think all of that plays into what's happening today with our children. It has a lot to do with mental health, because these people who have access to guns should not be able to purchase those guns. And certainly when you see what happened most recently, there's no explanation how somebody can just go and shoot somebody. I think the age was from 5 to 61 years old. How can you shoot people indiscriminately for no reason at all?
Well, I think this goes back to what you said, hurt people hurt. And I think that if we really wanted to get to the root of this problem, I think that you can see that as a country, our children are hurting. They're overstressed. They're over academics. They don't get outside. Recess has been canceled. They're constantly spending too much time online. They're getting access to content that they're not mature enough to navigate. And so I think it's like a boiling pot. It's like a pressure cooker, right, of what's happening. And so every child has a different outlet. So whether this outlet is self-harm, whether this outlet is gun violence against innocent victims and soft targets, whether it is suicide, there are so many different levels. But I think what we're seeing, if we really wanted to solve this problem, what we're seeing is a society that is hurting and is broken and is stressed out, and it's 100% our fault. We did this. We created this, whether it's academic stress or whether it's not fitting in, whether it's undistinguished characteristics, whether it's LGBT community, whatever it is, we have done this as a society, and we put so much pressure on our children at an extremely young age that I think that they get to a point where they start solving their own problems, but the problems that they're solving is through gun violence, self-harm, self-mutilation, eating disorders, and all of the above.
Well said. And we just hold that because we have to go on a quick break. We'll be right back with this marvelous group. I'm Jessie Fries.
John Graham, founder and CEO of Fairview Insurance Agency Associates, has been providing excellent service for the people of New Jersey since 1970. Fairview Insurance is a premier family-owned and operated independent full-service insurance agency based in Verona and Cherry Hill, New Jersey, working on behalf of individuals, companies, and public entities providing customized insurance plans, employee benefits, investment, and financial planning services. Fairview holds more than 30 licenses to service clients' needs in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and New York, as well as nationally through specialty insurance programs for hard-to-place risks. Fairview Insurance Agency's knowledge of the industry, cohesiveness, and deep commitment to values have inspired confidence among their many thousands of clients. Fairview Insurance Agency Associates, Verona, New Jersey will win your trust.
For the latest up-to-date news, visit www.insidernj.com. Online news for political insiders in New Jersey, featuring politicians, attorneys, medical, celebrities, and people and issues in the news.
Fairview Insurance Agency, 25 Fairview Avenue in Verona. Find them online at fairviewinsurance.com.
Welcome back to the Jessie Freeze Show, brought to you by www.insidernj.com. Online news for political insiders in New Jersey.
Welcome back on mental health, bullying, and guns with our great panel today. And I want to go right to you, Paula Fetterman. Your daughter was so bullied in school, you pulled her out to homeschool. Tell us about this.
Yes, thank you for having me. My daughter, who was a freshman at High Point Regional High School when this started, actually last month, April, is our 1-year anniversary from the bullying started. Now, because her sister is a freshman at the school and Davita has moved on to a sophomore, the same group of kids have started bullying her sister as well. I have 14 incidences in that year's time. I have gone to the school board. I have gone to the superintendent. I have reached out to several agencies and to no avail. The bullying has not stopped. You've mentioned earlier about reaching out to the parents of the bulliers. I have done that. I have asked the school to please have a meeting between me and the parents, and they said absolutely not. I have successfully reach one of the parents, and she's sorry for what her daughter's been doing to my daughter, but the bullying has not stopped. The other parent, one of the other parents, I should say, just completely ignores my emails. My daughter, unfortunately, like you had mentioned, has considered suicide, so I did take her to the pediatrician who put her on home instruction. The school does pay to have tutors sent to the home. I want to mention also High Point Regional High School has received over $1 million from the American Rescue Plan Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund, which is the COVID fund. I have questioned the school about what they've done with this money, which most of it sits idle in their bank account. A lot of it went, or some of it, I should say, went to weight room equipment, a high jump pit. Something was paid out to the New Jersey School Board Association. There was no explanation. A field trip to the Da Vinci Science Center, monitoring for the outdoor campus. As a parent, I have a right to see videos of the bullying of my child, which they pick and choose what to show me. They cry HIPAA and say it's protected. As a right, I can see that. The superintendent, in one instance, in a conversation with me, told me that I am wasting too much of High Point's time. I want to talk to him about the bullying. The Board of Education and the superintendent, the Board of Education's president, Mr. Wayne Dunn, and the superintendent, Scott Ripley, both have told me in separate emails to hire a lawyer. All I want to do is get the bullying stopped. I don't think we need to go that far. I really think we can, as adults, sit down and talk this out, and that's all I've wanted for my daughter. And I just can't get the school to come aboard and just talk. It's very unfortunate.
And Paula Fetterman, your daughter was so bullied in school, but even though she longed to be part of a school life, do you feel you've saved her life by getting her away from these torturous bullies?
I definitely have saved her life, and I'm very grateful that she was able to come to me when it all came to a head and say, listen, Mom, I've contemplated suicide so I could get her the help she needs. But this money, going back to the money, why not give some of that money to help the bulliers stop and listen and say, this is wrong. You need help as well. I think that those bulliers are crying for help. Something's going on in their lives, whether it be home, school, whatever, something. They're crying out for help. And I've told the school this, and they want me to send my daughter back and sit in 3 periods a day, 3 different classes, 3 periods with 2 bulliers in that class. She is a disabled student. She has multiple disabilities, a higher functioning student, but she has 14 kids in a special education class. That is a very large class for a special education class. They could easily have split it 5, 6 students and taken the bulliers out of my daughter's class, and she could
they
have
didn't.
gotten back in, but they refused. I even put that in an email and say, listen, please consider this. I went in and talked to the administration. Please consider this. They have other alternatives. I am a former special education teacher myself, so I know some of the laws as far as special education, and there are different solutions that they could have done to that problem starting in November. Here we are in May, and I fought all the way. You have to take your daughter back and get another note to keep her out on home instruction. And now it's affecting her boyfriend, who is a junior, who now she cannot go to his junior prom. It's affecting everybody. It's affecting my younger daughter now as well. Like I said, they've included her now as well. And the school just does not want to take responsibility.
You keep up your work. Any other comments from our guests?
First of all, I would just like to say bravo to the mom who, took the hard step to take your daughter out of school, because sometimes I say to parents, the win isn't always fighting the school. Sometimes the win is walking away from a bad situation. And so I would certainly applaud you for taking your child out of school and finding alternative education. And I think that that's definitely a direction that a lot of parents are going to be forced to do. And I think that the schools are going to have to acknowledge, because eventually, we had this conversation under the Bush administration about charter schools. And so when people start to want to start defunding public school because the schools are just incapable of doing their job, and I think her story is a prime example. Like, it's not that big of a deal to say to the students, like, this, you're going to be disciplined for this behavior. Your daughter is entitled to a safe learning environment, and that literally is spelled out in the New Jersey HIB. So I always say to schools, I don't care what bucket you put it in code of conduct, put it in HIB. I don't really care. FERPA, HIPAA, I don't care. Just make the behavior stop. And so eventually parents are going to get tired of these scenarios. We can't always afford to lawyer up. I was told that too. Well, Diane, if you're not happy with it, get a lawyer. Well, I'm a small business owner in New Jersey. I can't afford a lawyer that gets hundreds of thousands of dollars to fight a school system that has an unlimited supply of access to funds and legal team. That is unfair. The parents are the ones that support the school systems, and then the school system has an unlimited budget as it pertains to legal action, and then I have to go and hire an outside lawyer. Schools, parents, teachers, everybody should want to sit at the same conference table and get this changed. So bravo to the mom for stepping forward. And all I would say to you is the win is sometimes a healthy and happy home. Turn your back on the school, turn your back on your prom, buy her some tickets to the New Jersey Theater, let her go get dressed up and do something in a nice restaurant. I went to my prom. It really wasn't that great of an experience, and life is so much better when you walk away from a bad environment.
Well, unfortunately,
Yes,
I hate to
much.
break up this wonderful conversation. You've all been excellent guests. But before we end, I'd like to say that about 1 in 25 United States adults live with severe depression. So remember, if you are suffering from depression or know someone who is suicidal, call 988, the Suicide Crisis Hotline. And as I said, we want to thank all our guests for their valuable contributions on bullying, gun violence, and mental health. Max Pizzaro, editor-in-chief and co-founder of Insider NJ, thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much, Jessie, for having me. Thank you to all the guests. Very productive show. Thank you.
It certainly has been. Senator Shirley Turner for your Anti-Bully Bill of Rights Act, S3715. Thank you for telling us about this morning.
Thank you very much, Jessie. This has been most informative and very productive.
Senator Patrick Deegan, who along with Senator Joseph Panaccio, authors of their important bully bill, Mallory's Law, we thank them. And Diane Grossman, Mallory's mom, for sharing an emotional account of your precious daughter's death due to bullying.
Thank you for having me. Thanks to all the guests. Thanks to everybody. You can always reach us at mallory'sarmy.org. I'm always open to a conversation. Thanks to everyone.
And Paula Fetterman, who had homeschool for her daughter, Davida, after nonstop harassment from students at her New Jersey school. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me. And Davida, thank you for your support. Thank you.
And to all of you, have a very good day and keep up your excellent work. I'm Jessie Fries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay tuned for Julie Briggs and her
so much.
riveting. Oh, good. Stay tuned for Julie Briggs and her riveting roundtable coming up next. Have a good day. Good day.